Hey, what's going on, guys? It is the Nicholas Psakas Chelsea Football Channel back here today, going over some little bit more news. Of course, still the international break. It's almost over. We're getting there. Only a few more days left until we get to see Chelsea football again, which is exactly what we all have been craving. I know I have been, in the mix. I've been trying to come up with video ideas while also managing my schoolwork. School year is almost done. So I'm gonna have a little bit more time over the next few months to produce some videos. So that's what's gonna be the really good stuff. Around December point is when it'll become a lot easier. But today I wanted to go over an article going over potential Chelsea striker options that could be a chance of being a new option. I mean, of course, we have a few guys I also want to talk about in this. One in particular, of course, being Nicholas Jackson. So we'll see how they compare maybe to one another. And then I also we have an update about the injury situation here at Chelsea, and it looks like we're going to have a lot of guys ready and fit to go for this Leicester one. So let's hop straight into it. Why not? So we read in the article Wesley Fofana, Malo Gusto, Levi Colwill, Jadon Sancho, and Cole Palmer. Chelsea handed major training boost for Leicester City clash. So let's move into it. A large contingent of Chelsea players were involved in training on Monday at the Cobham base. It looks as though most of the players have returned and are ready to go. So if we scroll down below, we're seeing that including Levi Colwill and Cole Palmer for England, the duo, they've been back at camp to minimize the risk of injuries. Of course, they were not involved in the England group. They were basically went and then told to return. I kind of expected it for Cole Palmer before the break, but I wasn't sure about Levi. Um, of course, they go over again the Palmer injury, but then it shows meanwhile Jadon Sancho has been absent for several weeks due to an illness and suffering setbacks picked up in between. And as we see, he was in training here today. It's good to see Jadon back. I really want to see him involved on Saturday. Not really a spoiler because we're not sure. I'm not sure if I'll let him start, but we'll see. So then we go to Wesley Fofana. Malo Gusto also withdrew from the France camps over the period, but were spotted at Cobham and will hope to be in contention again. So they are also back in training. They didn't post that on almost certain, but the thing is, they are back in training as well. Of course, we weren't sure what the problem with Malo was. He withdrew from the U21 team, and no one was really sure why. And then Wesley Fofana, I think, came out and said before the international break that he wasn't actually going to go to the international team because of he wanted to get himself healthy. And it's honestly a very smart thing. It's talking about Jorgensen, Reese, and Benoit Badiashile and Dewsbury Hall, who's going to go back. He might not even play against the Leicester, so it'll be interesting. Then it gets into a further dilemma. The likes of Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo won't return until later in the week. So when it gets to that point later in the week, it's going to be a hard decision for Enzo Maresca. Is he going to want to play either one of the two guys as a starter, especially with the injury of Romeo Lavia? We don't know what the problem is, mainly with his knee. Of course, we figured out that the head coach of Belgium said there was a problem and we couldn't involve him, so we basically sent him home. Of course, it's good for us because technically he had 2 weeks to get that problem solved, and he has an extra week almost this week with minimal training to get that problem solved. And of course, this injury staff for Chelsea has been very focused on player safety and player health. So if I had to guess, there's a good chance that Romeo will be included, but it'll be interesting to see what he does with the other two Chelsea main midfielders, and Enzo and Caicedo, because we have the early kickoff on Saturday. They don't have the extra day to recover. So really, when they're gonna get back from their flights, and they're gonna be maybe in the match day squad on Saturday. So whether or not he's gonna take a risk because of how tired they might be, it'll be interesting to see. But he hasn't really been. It hasn't been risky to play Caicedo since he got back even later, I think, than Enzo Fernandez in the last one. But we'll have to see what ends up happening. Of course, Pedro Neto was also included after they won their game against Poland and made it through. So it was very nice to see him let him go early. And then that is basically the end of that story. But as it stands, it's a very, very good first sight to see. I'm very, very happy that we've been able to keep a lot of players very fit this season. Of course, we really only had the major problems so far with Sancho, who's missed a pretty decent amount of time due to that illness and the setback. Reese, of course, who missed the first few months due to that injury, and Lavia, who missed around 2 to 3 weeks with an injury. But those are really the only guys who have missed a substantial amount of time due to injury. So if we can keep this out of out of the team this season, we really are going to be in for productive things. And keeping this group of players that need to keep growing together, playing in the same lineup, is amongst probably my top priority for the growth of this team throughout the rest of the season. So before I get into this article, I just wanted to quickly let you guys know that today over here in Monday, Joao Felix did just score in his Nations League game. So it's good to see him getting one playing time for any team and to see him getting on the score sheet. So good to him. I also noticed that Tomas Araujo also is playing in this one as a starting center back. So it's very, very important to see that now he's getting some international minutes. Of course, if you didn't know, I posted a video about Tomas Araujo being a possible center back option for Chelsea this season, especially with the amount of players that we have from Portugal in our national team. Chance, we might be able to, some of the guys might be able to convince him. I don't know if it's a guy we'll go after, but it's a good way to look at it. Hopping back into this article, though, it talks about from Simon Phillips, of course, well-known Chelsea journalist. Chelsea can sign one of main striker targets for 62.7 million in the summer of 2025, not in the January, but in the summer. So as you see, of course, obviously this player, Chelsea, we thought we're going to sign Victor Osimhen. As he says, it took a chunk of money, and not just for his transfer fee, but for his wages. And the other fees will come as well. The end, it seems all just too costly to start trying to capture Osimhen's signature. Of course, this was a topic that we all talked about before it came to that first international break. We thought we were going to get it done on deadline day. I myself thought we were going to get it done on deadline day, but of course, it just didn't end up happening. Of course, it was so close. It really came down to the wire, and it looked like John Obi Mikel and others and whatever. They really thought they were going to get the wages done, but the wages ended up being too much of an issue. And of course, he ended up sacking his agent and ended up moving himself to Galatasaray. Of course, we'll look at the statistics overall in a second, but he has been doing great there. And look at this. Victor Osimhen will be set to be available for 75 million euros in the summer as per release clause set in his new contract at Napoli. He obviously, I think, signed a new contract at Napoli and as officially, it looks like he's going to be now. It's like a set in stone thing. You're not going to have to pay over 100 million. It's going to be a 75 million euro fee, and of course, that itself translates into that 62 million pound fee that we would look at. Simon Phillips is saying. Of course, I think this is a little bit of well-known knowledge, but at the same time, it's a way cheaper fee than I think we all thought it was. But the thing it comes down to is this. Nicholas Jackson has been playing very well this season, but he does seem to lack any real competition other than Nkoku, who mainly plays on attacking midfield or a striker. Mark Gu's also very young and lacks experience. That's the main thing about Mark Gu. I think he'll be better off with a loan move. Maybe in January we might see it. Maybe he might play the rest of the season out. But getting in Victor Osimhen gives another dimension as a striker. Of course, him and Nicholas Jackson, I'm going to compare them both in a second because I'm very curious to show how both players have been kind of interacting and look maybe similar in ways, or maybe there's a ways that one looks better than the other. There's a chance we could see that. And then you say Osimhen would certainly provide Chelsea with more of a target to aim for in the box should they pursue a move. Okay, the main thing that we don't have is that threat in the box that it says. The guy who can run toward that near post, who goes for that ball, who gets that header, who wins that play. Of course, we don't have a guy who attacks that near post. Nicholas Jackson, if he could just develop that in his game, he would be amongst the world's best strikers right now. No one finds him running toward the near post for a tap in or maybe a quick header. No one does that. Osimhen would be that guy. And we've seen how some of the goals he scored this season for Galatasaray. This guy is still special. Just because he plays in like a way low budget league, this guy is still showing he is so dominant. And on a Chelsea team that has world-class players, well, some people won't like that, but I think most of the players on our team are world-class. And they're going to only get better. It's about just playing together and playing as a group more. And when you see this team, it's only time at this point. It's only more time. All it needs is just time. And it's starting to show. With guys like Caicedo, guys like Palmer, even Noni Madueke somewhat this season, but I think Madueke has been a little bit iffy, but I think he's developed more. Pedro Neto's look good. Even if I'm saying the other striker, Nicholas Jackson, It's been very intriguing to see their development. Of course, at this point, Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer have one of the best duos in Chelsea history. So that's something that you have to keep in mind as well. Now let's move over. I'm going to go on football, and I'm going to look at Victor Osimhen, and then we'll compare him with Nicholas Jackson as well. So you're seeing it. The traits, takes a lot of shot attempts, takes a lot of or scores a lot of goals. In the Super League this season, he's played 6 matches, 6 goals, 2 assists, so over a goal contribution per game. Almost has an 8 rating. You're basically seeing his statistics here. Absolutely brilliant performances, multiple 7s, even some 8s, even some 9s. This guy's been brilliant. And you look at his shooting statistics and more, it's brilliant stuff. But you have to be looking at this and like you're really seeing it. His goals, he overshoots his XG, and that's what you want in a striker, to have clinical finishing, and that's what you get out of Victor Osimhen. Clinical finishing is his name. Brilliant amount of shots, 32, 13 of them on target. Non-penalty XG is the exact same as his expected goals. That means he hasn't even taken a penalty, I don't think, this season yet. He's really even done well for assists this season, even getting 2 assists. But what he doesn't give you is the dribbling off the ball. Um, and like it looks like that's like the main thing we're losing here in this dribbling per possession. He doesn't take on guys, he doesn't do that. But if he's getting into the opposition area and he's getting those goals where you need them to be, that you're not getting at a guy like Nicholas Jackson, because Nicholas Jackson's a guy who wants to drop in more. And he's not a guy who's, going to be a poacher. I don't see Nicholas Jackson as a header in the middle of the area winning it and putting it in a corner. I haven't seen that from Nicholas Jackson. None of us have seen that out of Nicholas Jackson. This is what we'll get out of this man. But if you want that striker who's going to drop in and help and move into channels more, you're going to get that of him. But you're also going to get that out of Victor Osimhen. So maybe even though you might not get as much dropping in, collecting and passing and receiving, you might get everything else plus the work inside the box. Of course, as well, I haven't even added in his goals he scored in the Europa League. In the Europa League, he as well has 2 goals and an assist. Of course, he played brilliantly in that game versus Tottenham, in which they won. So you have to give him credit here. Then you see it there, the 9.1 average rating. He got the 2 goals. So brilliant stuff. Then let's again slide over to Nicholas Jackson. Of course, Hugo Jackson's 23 years old, a few years younger. 6 goals, 3 assists in 11 games. So not a goal contribution per game, but he's played a lot more games in the league. 9 goal contributions total in 11 games is brilliant stuff from Nico Jackson. Brilliant stuff. And you look, his shooting metrics are all in the green zone. As much as we've been penalizing this guy is currently shooting at his XG. It's basically 6 and 6. He's taking a lot of shots, a lot of them being on target, the shots. More than half of them are on target. So that's a brilliant thing you like to see with Nico already. His assists and overall passing metrics, he's creating a lot of chances. He's successfully making a lot of passes. So he's brilliant in there. And then you see his possession metrics and where he's been a lot more successful as a take-on dribbler. You're seeing his dribble success rate's over half. If we compare it back to Victor Osimhen, he doesn't take that. He doesn't take successful dribbles. Nico has 8 more than him, and he's converting it at a basically more than double the percentage. He's been brilliant at taking, but we know how good Nico is. He went from a converted winger to a player up top. He's been learning this striker position over time, and it's showing it's paying off. And so far, couldn't be any more happy than I already am with Nico. I talked about it in my international squad reviews video, and now I'm talking about it again here because I feel like it makes too much sense for me not to bring it up. The amount of people who have been absolutely obliterating this guy for his lack of finishing and lack of talent, but the talent's been there all along. You got to let this guy, again, he might be more of a confidence guy. I'm not sure. We've seen it more with Mudryk than it is with Nico, but he's starting to find himself as a striker. He's starting to find himself, and definitely you can see it in the FootMob attributes. And now, again, I think that, do I think maybe we can use more competition up top? There's a chance. There's a chance, especially if we were to lose Christopher Nkunku. I don't want that to happen. Like I stated in my video I did with Thomas Araujo and him. But again, I can't change the fact that it's a possibility. And again, I would love to have opportunity to have them both, but I don't think it's as necessity as I thought it would have been in the past. So if Nico Jackson can keep this up, there's a real good chance that we could see either maybe both of them playing together or maybe just Nico Jackson holding down the fort. Let me know what you guys think. I think that, it'll be interesting to see what happens when we roll around January. And in this situation, it looks more like what'll be happening in the summer of next year. Because, I thought that maybe we'd be going after Victor Osimhen in January. It's still a possibility. I think we have to, like, he has to be recalled from his loan or something with Galatasaray to make it make sense. But all this was really an update on the situation that we currently already know about. Of course, most of us already know about this Victor Osimhen um, release clause from his current deal to maybe another deal. But Chelsea look like they'd be the front runners if they were to go after the deals. So, as a fan and as a person who wanted Victor Osimhen, I still want him. But I've loved the things that Nicholas Jackson has done for us overall this season, and you can't discredit that. So if he keeps playing like this and he keeps putting the ball in the back of the net, there's a good chance we might see him be the rest or spend the rest of the season as that starting striker. We might not even need to go out and spend more money in a position that might not even be the biggest of problems. I still feel like that center back and that goalie, which I have just made 2 videos about. Make sure you guys go check them out. But I think that they are the biggest 2 problems here at this team right now, and maybe they should be addressed first. But thank you guys very much for watching. Follow me on Instagram, Nicholas Perstakis CFC. Follow me on TikTok, same thing. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Peace.